Hey humans, welcome back to otro videito más. Today we're gonna be reviewing another cage for the Sony ZV-E1. This one is the Tilta cage and it also has a fan. Let's get to it. Alright, so first up, we know that the Sony ZV-E1 is a very capable and powerful camera, but this one overheats like nobody's business, which is a problem if you're trying to rig this out. And it's so nice that Tilta made this cage thinking in tandem with having the cooling system attached to it, like permanently. We'll get to it once we open it. Tilta definitely thought this through. Now, the big deciding factor is gonna be how is the cooling capabilities? Will it cool this enough to run it 24/7, no problem? I don't know. We'll see. First, we're gonna start off by opening this. We're gonna try this out first. We got screws here. We got the base plate, which makes the cage into an Arca Swiss, which I kinda dislike. You'll see why it's not integrated here pretty soon. Here we have the cage. Okay, right out of the bat, it feels really nice. This top part right here, it definitely helps my fingers sit on it very nicely. Now we got a couple screws here that they give us to obviously screw it in. Duh. Two of these will be for the base plate. One of these is gonna be for the bottom of the cage. But before we put the camera in the cage, there's one thing we need to remove, and it's this right here. So I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna take this off. And sadly, you have to remove it all the way in order to make this happen, which I'm not a fan of because, well, the screw is very tiny and this is also very tiny. So if you drop it, then it's gonna be a problem. But the reason that you have to take that off is because what you do is that you slide the camera into the cage just like you normally would. But here, if you see back here, the Tilta has a little ridge for the anchor point right here that it just slides in. And then this one will just hold it together once we put it in. We're gonna take this, we're gonna put it right in there, and the goal, see right there? It sits right in there, so it'll never, ever come out of the cage, which is kind of really nice. We're gonna tighten it up, make sure it is secure. Okay, that's in there. And now you have two mounting points right here for your Peak Design anchors. Now you're gonna take the bottom screw, put it right in there, and then Tilta gives you a little tool that you can use to put this on and off. And thankfully it is magnetically attached to the bottom. Yeah, definitely this grip adds a lot to it. I feel like I can hold a heavy lens with it. Actually, let's try. We're gonna try the 35 to 150 from Tamron. This is my heaviest lens. I do have a 70-200, but that one's not as heavy as this one. And I can clearly hold this very nicely. Like, this actually feels good. Yeah, this is not bad at all. And this is without any straps or anything. Like, I feel comfortable just yeah, we can definitely box with it. Feels good in the hands. It doesn't feel like I'm gonna slip away. Like, it's a solid grip. Now this cage has a ton of quarter threads to go around. You have a NATO rail on the side right here, which is gonna be super useful if you're actually gonna rig this whole thing out. It does have an extra cold shoe mount right here at the top. This cage sits super low profile to the camera, which it's kind of nice because it doesn't add to the thickness of the camera itself. Like, if you look at it, the bottom part is very thin, which is nice, and the top part is like, I mean, pretty close to flush with the body. This actually is a very sleek cage. It kind of doesn't even look like it has one. Like, the contours right here, like, it's not like all squared out. Like, and I just gotta say, this NATO rail right here on the side, it feels really nice because if you're just doing this NATO rail is deep. Like, it feels like a whole nother handle. So you can literally just it looks good too, like design wise, it looks pretty sleek, which, you know, it's always a plus. The cool thing about this cage is this little section right here at the bottom. So this is a first time that we've seen this, at least I've seen this. And this connection point is specifically for the cooling system that Tilta created. So we're gonna take this one out. It does come with the USB-C. to USB-C. Now the cooling fan, obviously Tilta branded because it's Tilta. You're gonna take this off, and this silicone pad it's gonna be against the back of the camera, hopefully cooling it so it can run indefinitely. Now this fan does connect right here at the bottom, like we just talked about, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there. The nice thing about it is that it is thumb screws up here. They don't need any tools to actually put them in and out, which is actually nice. They do have a slit at the top, so if you need this, it's available. Let's go ahead and use it. Just tighten this up. Go ahead and tighten this one up. All right, everything is in there. Now this fan has 2 modes, 1 and 2. Now, as you can see, it's not powered on because it doesn't have a battery inside. So we're gonna have to connect this from the outside. I'm gonna try first to connect it from the camera to the fan and see what happens. I like the length. Pretty neat, not too long, because if you're rigging this, you really don't want a lot of cables. So this is actually nice. Now we're gonna try to turn the fan on. Sad. I know this is not a power out, but a power in, but I have to try, because if it does work, then that would be freaking great. I'll bring extra batteries for the ZV-E1, you know what I mean? So since this doesn't work straight to the camera, here's where the V-mount battery comes in. Now I did use this on my test for the small rig cage. That was the same problem. It didn't start up just by connecting it to the camera, so I had to connect it to the V-mount battery. And yeah, so if you want to see that video, it's already posted. There'll be a link down below for the small rig cage. And if you're watching this video a month after it was posted, then you'll have the ability to see my comparison of the tilted cage and the small rig cage. Now we're gonna connect it to the V-mount battery. So there it is. It kicked in. I think it definitely sounds louder than the small rig one, but I feel like it's just a little higher pitch than the small rig. The great thing about this fan is that, yeah, it is installed permanently on the camera, but you can take this fan out and bring it down. So if you need to store your camera, you can store it, right? And you can bring the fan up, but you can't close it all the way. Well, Tilta did think about that. Normally this connection point right here sits very flush with the cage, but if you're gonna store the fan away, you can bring it up to, you see, like that, and then put it right on there. But now it's still connected, but you don't have to worry about the screen or the fan or anything. You can just keep it all in there, and you can keep cooling it while you take a break. So the fan can stay attached at all times, which is kind of nice, because if you're using a rig, then you know you don't want to be taking it off and on. Having this be able to come out and have the screen be able to close, it's great. Overheating is the biggest problem with this camera. It's so powerful, but it just overheats. Let's get to the test. I'm gonna test this out in a few different ways. Now, I always shoot 120 frames per second 4K, because that's just how I shoot. If it bothers you, let me know down in the comments below. But I always shoot 120 frames per second, and yes, obviously that's gonna overheat cameras. I never did have a problem with the Sony a7S III. That beast never overheated on me. We're gonna test this out by shooting 4K 120, and we're gonna shoot it as long as it can, and I'm gonna shoot it first in the worst case scenario. So now that the camera is literally cooled because I haven't used it and the fan is already kicked in. Actually, let's turn it up. Woo! We're gonna start it fresh. We're gonna go crazy, and we're gonna connect. Obviously, we have the fan connected to the V-mount battery, but I'm also gonna connect the V-mount battery to the camera. So I want everything on. I want everything just pushing. Let's connect USB-C on the side here to the camera. Let's bring this around. We're gonna keep this on. We're gonna keep this V-mount battery going. It is at 4K 120. It is at the highest bit rate because we're trying to go all out, okay? We're trying to go crazy up in here. I'm gonna try it on the second setting, on the highest setting, just to see the capability, because the camera is fresh, is not hot at all. So we're gonna try it at the highest setting. Like, if we know we're gonna be recording for like an hour and a half or 2 hours, like obviously we wanna maximize it. So we're gonna start off strong at level 2 of the fan. So we're gonna go all out, okay? We're gonna use max power, but we're also gonna use max cooling. So we'll give it a go, see what happens, and go. All right, so the testing has been completed. Here are the results. The first time around, the camera lasted 25 minutes, which, yeah, I get it. For this tiny body, I feel like that's quite a bit. Now, after it shut off the first time, after the first 25 minutes, I turned it off, I let it cool for 10 minutes, went back in, turned it back on, started recording, and it ran for 12 minutes and 39 seconds. And then after that overheated, I turned it off for like 30 seconds, turn it back on, and it ran for 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Definitely not the best cooling solution ever, but it does add to it, because if you're running this camera, which I've tested before, if you run this camera without any fans, no nothing, just by itself, running 120 frames per second, 4K, it's gonna overheat in like 10 minutes. 10, 11 minutes. So that's kind of like cut off. Obviously, 25 minutes is a lot better than 10 minutes. Basically, I just have a Sony a7S III and a smaller body. Yes, it overheats, but you know, that I feel like that's part of the compromise. As you can see, there's a lot of moisture right on there. So like this thing is cooling, but as you can see, it's cooling like right there in the center mostly. So let's bring the temperature gun in here and let's see what we got. Whew. No freaking way. That's impossible. It's 32.1 degrees Fahrenheit. Look at the minimum value. 32 at the bottom. Look at that. The minimum 32.1 degrees. It's like 0.05 degrees Celsius. That's like close to freezing. That's nuts. I mean, that's cold as heck. Oh shit. Yeah, it's nice. I mean, you saw it. You saw it. 32 degrees. Basically freezing. So this little thing definitely has power. Obviously that was at the max setting right here of 2, so definitely cools down. I wish it would cool the whole plate, not just in the center, but like all the way to the edges. I feel like that would make the heat dissipation a lot better. Obviously this is a very, very tiny thing, so obviously, you know, there's limitations here, but 32 degrees, come on, that's pretty cold. So definitely helps with the cooling, better than not having anything. So yeah. The last thing of this cage is the base plate. Now this goes down here, that open part goes to the outside. We're gonna put this on. Alright, so the bottom plate is on, and as you can see, it doesn't add anything down here for like your finger. So thankfully my hands fit in here like perfectly, like all my fingers are in here. If you have bigger hands, it doesn't really add anything to it, so it's not my favorite thing in the world. And normally I would have a Peak Design plate below this one because I use just Peak Design stuff all the time. So technically this base plate is not a bad thing for me, because I would just not use this base plate and I would use the Peak Design base plates on there, which means that my setup technically will be a little bit slimmer than if this was already integrated into the camera. I know some people see it as the worst thing ever if you're used to using other plates, but if this is the first thing you ever buy and you don't have any other connector ports or whatever, or different plates, this is great. And not only do you have an Arca Swiss compatible base plate, but you also have quarter threads down at the bottom, and you have even the bigger 3/8 right here. So it's nice that it's not just a flat bottom and that's all you get. So it's a good base plate. I use other stuff. So yeah, overall I love this cage. Like, actually it feels super nice in the hand. The grip is comfortable, and this might not be a pro for you, but if you look right here, I don't know if you can see that, but the grip doesn't go all the way back here. So there's like a gap here in the middle. It's like a little ridge, which I like, being that I'm a rock climber and I do that for fun. This ridge makes it like a nice little crimp that I can just like pinch on like really hard if needed be. So if I was rocking a 600mm f4 on this camera, then yeah, I could grip this, and with the NATO rail on this other side, I could also, you know, just have at it. I love this cage. It is sleek, it is compact, it doesn't extrude that much. Now if you're planning on taking it on and off like a lot, then kind of I just don't like this, the part where like you have to undo it to pull it out. But other than that, it's actually really good. The one thing that I don't like is that it doesn't come with an attachment to hold the micro HDMI, because that micro HDMI is just trash. I'm sorry to say it, but can we just stop using micro and just either mini or full size? Come on. I mean, I know, even if you have to make the camera like yay wider, like just do it. because micro HDMI just sucks, Sony. Okay, just keep that in mind for the next one. Like the only one I would be okay with a micro HDMI would be an RX1R. An RX1R Mark III micro HDMI, sure. The camera is small as a, so yeah, sure. But on this, especially a camera that's mostly for video, like very video centric, come on. I know it's photos and videos, but like vlogging, like video, you know what I mean? Like that, man, that micro HDMI just, it just sucks. I'm sorry. Terrible. But this cage, amazing. Amazing cage, feels good. This is how I would hold it. My initial thoughts, my first handling and everything, this camera feels actually amazing in the hands. That's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions about this camera cage. I'll try to answer them down below in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me keep the channel going and it lets me know that I'm doing something productive. I'm trying to help. Even if it's just one person, I'm fine with that. If it's just one person I helped, I'm good. I think that was a successful video. So thanks for all the love. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, keep up the good work. Thanks for watching. And yeah, talk to you.